You ever have one of those moments that's so absurd, so mind-blowingly ridiculous, your brain just stalls out? Yeah, that was me, standing on my front porch in a robe, cradling my coffee, when I saw her, Marla Benson, strut across my lawn like she was reclaiming royal land. Not on the sidewalk, not near the edge. I'm talking a straight path through my vegetable garden. Behind her were two guys, each pushing hand trucks toward the side of my shed. I blinked, then blinked again. They were hauling off my wood pile. Not just any firewood, mind you. This was old-growth hickory I'd chopped, stacked, and seasoned over 2 brutal Pennsylvania winters. My sweat, my weekends, my sanity, all bundled up in that pile. And there goes Queen Marla, HOA president with a god complex, loading it onto a trailer like it was a bulk donation to a church bonfire. She waved at me. "Thanks for the donation, neighbor," she chirped, like she was borrowing sugar instead of hijacking half my winter heat. I just stood there, mouth half open, trying to process whether I was still dreaming. I even scanned the bushes for hidden cameras, convinced I'd wandered onto some reality show prank. But nope, this was real. When I confronted her in her backyard, already decked out with folding chairs, fake tiki torches, and enough fairy lights to rival a mid-tier wedding venue, she just smiled. "Oh, I meant to leave a note," she said, waving dismissively at the pile. "It's for the HOA bonfire. We didn't have the funds, and you weren't using it, right? It was violating code anyway." I reminded her, as calmly as I could, that it was my woodpile, on my land, and that I'd never given permission. Her response? "It's better this way. Promotes neighborhood unity. Plus, Section 6.4 of our visual standards clearly states no outdoor piles over 4 feet in view. I'm saving everyone money and enforcing the rules." She even clapped. For herself. Now, let me back up a second. Marla's been on some kind of ego crusade ever since she became president of our HOA. She's not just enforcing the rules, she's weaponizing them. Selectively. Vindictively. Her biggest beef? People like me who don't attend the meetings, don't vote in the board elections, don't play her game. But this was personal. I had no doubt. You see, 2 months earlier, I blocked a proposal she snuck through to reroute the walking path right behind my property, claiming it was for accessibility, when in reality it would have tanked my home's privacy and value. I rallied a few neighbors, filed the paperwork, and the plan got shelved. She never forgot that. So when she saw that woodpile, she didn't see firewood. She saw a chance to get even. Now, you might expect me to blow up, call the cops, sue the HOA. I tried. I called the non-emergency line. I filed a theft report with the HOA. I even emailed the district rep. All I got was civil matter, internal dispute, and talk to the board. That's when I remembered Calvin, pest control guy, fishing buddy. Owed me a favor from back when I helped save his truck from a yellow jacket swarm at the lake. "You need the deluxe stuff?" he asked, laughing over the phone. "Drywood termites. No odor, no mess. Just ghosts of wood when they're done." I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted consequences. So I told Marla, sweetly, graciously, that she'd been right. The pile was an eyesore. If she needed more wood for the next event, I'd be happy to contribute. Hook, line, sinker. 3 days later, a fresh delivery arrived at her place. Hickory, just like before. Looked perfect. Smelled great. And packed inside? A colony of silent destroyers. I watched from my porch as she directed her helpers to stack it beside her pergola like a prize. The week that followed was delicious. Marla hosted another event. This one was more elegant. Wine tasting, string quartet, real cheese plates. And that wood? Burning beautifully. Guests complimented the ambiance, the scent, the rustic vibes. Meanwhile, under their feet, termites were clocking in for a buffet. It started subtly. A sagging fence post, a few dust trails on her deck, her husband tightening screws that no longer held anything together. Then came the collapses. A guest's chair gave out mid-toast, sending her into a puddle of Chardonnay and mortification. A decorative barrel split open, spilling ice and wine across the patio. Guests whispered, some left early. Marla kept smiling, tight-lipped, frantic, like if she smiled hard enough, the chaos would disappear. But it didn't. The next day, during an open HOA meeting, she tried to spin the narrative, claimed vendors sold her faulty furniture, accused a sabotage campaign, and then came the termites. Someone spotted them, crawling, visible now, on her pergola, her deck posts, even on her handcrafted welcome sign. "You've got termites," someone whispered. Marla turned ghost white. She looked at me, just for a moment, like she wanted to scream my name, drag me into a witch trial. But she couldn't. Admitting the infestation meant admitting where the wood came from. Janet, one of the other board members, stood up with a file. A thick one. Turns out Marla had been using discretionary HOA funds to rent chairs, pay caterers, and decorate her backyard for private events, without a quorum, without permission. Janet dropped the hammer. None of this was approved. You signed it all yourself. And just like that, the room turned. A vote of no confidence was called. Hands went up, dozens of them. Even her usual sycophants looked away. Marla lost. She didn't go quietly. She shouted about lawsuits, community betrayal, the death of standards. No one responded. She stormed out, and nobody followed. Her backyard? Quarantined. Pest control in hazmat suits gutted it. The pergola, gone. Deck, replaced. And as for Marla, she vanished. No more flyers, no more patrols. Her husband put up privacy screens like that could block out shame. And the stories trickled in, how she fined a woman for grass clippings, reported a corgi to animal control, called a garden gnome urban blight. Then, one afternoon, a man from the county inspector's office knocked on my door. Apparently, Marla had filed a complaint after moving out, claiming my unsafe woodpile may have contributed to her property damage. Her last Hail Mary. The inspector checked everything, found nothing wrong. But that visit said it all. Even in defeat, she was still grasping for control. I thought that was the end. Until Halloween, when the new family who moved into her house hosted a pumpkin carving night. Nice folks, invited the whole block. And near the edge of the yard, buried halfway in the dirt, someone found an old sign. Weathered, cracked, still legible. HOA President reserves the right to appropriate community materials. And etched beneath it, in faint knife marks, including your soul. We laughed so hard we cried. Someone suggested hanging it in the new community gazebo. Open to all. Voted on fairly. Funded transparently. We called it Exhibit A. A reminder. That week, I stacked a fresh batch of wood from Calvin. Clean, termite-free. This time, I added a tiny hand-painted sign. Not for HOA use or termites. People smiled. Some took photos. And me? I just sat on my porch, sipping coffee, breathing in a neighborhood that finally felt like home. Sometimes revenge doesn't need fire. It just needs time. And maybe a few bugs. But what do you think? Have you ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA president? Or seen karma play out in your own neighborhood? Drop your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear what your Marla moment was.